Here's a fun fact you may or may not know about me. I am a big fan of animation, whether it be 2D animation, 3D animation, or even stop motion. I just love and really appreciate it as an art form. And yes, animation is an art form, not a genre. Just wanted to get that out of the way, okay? It's the kind of thing that can be enjoyed by anyone of any age, and I like that. So, as a bit of a video experiment, I have decided to review an anime movie, and as you can tell from a thumbnail, it's Snow White. People usually say that this is the very first ever animated feature, and they're half right. Okay, so basically, Snow White is the very first animated feature in North America, but there do exist some foreign animated films that were released way before Snow White. Of course, this movie still does have a pretty big legacy considering the fact that it is significant to the history of animation. Without this movie, people wouldn't have realized that you can tell complex stories. Not to mention do more with the animation as well. So I guess I'll review it. That being said, this is my own personal opinion, and if you don't agree with anything I say on this video, then please don't come after me in the comments, because I wouldn't appreciate that. Anyway, has this movie aged well in the past 83 years? Well, kinda has. It isn't perfect though, as it does have a few problems that I will get to eventually. But first, on to the good stuff. For starters, the animation is absolutely beautiful and is definitely well crafted. Everything about it is really nice to look at, especially with the backgrounds and the character animation. It does show that at the time this movie was made, which was the 1930s, that you can do a whole lot more with animation, especially compared to a simple little cartoon. One thing I kinda like about this movie is that the character animation is actually a bit multi-layered. What I mean by that is that while the human characters have a mostly realistic design, the dwarves, however, and some of the animals, have a cartoonish kind of design. This does add a bit of contrast between the two, and it actually does kind of work since it shows the difference between the ordinary and the not ordinary. Honestly though, if the human characters were any more realistic, they'd be kinda creepy. Now, considering that I really like the animation, Jesus, I said that a lot, there are other parts of the movie that are not quite as good. Case in point, Exhibit B, the story and the plot. Now, I know that this was made in the 30s, and it is based off of an already existing folktale, but the plot is just kind of bland. Okay, sure, there are some good things about the story, like the scene where Snow White dies, which is actually kind of emotional, but still is admittedly kind of predictable. It's essentially the story of a girl who escapes the wrath of the queen by hiding out with 7 men, only to end up dying in the end, then not die, and then run away with a random guy she knew for only a few minutes. You know, am I being too harsh on this film? Well, kinda. I mean, some of the slightly darker moments of the story are actually kind of the highlights of it. They do look great, and in terms of setting a slightly darker atmosphere in the story, it does a good job of it, especially since the majority of the film is upbeat. But I still can't help but feel that the plot is predictable. But honestly, it is harmless, and it's honestly not that big of a deal. That being said, some of the characters are also a bit bland, with some sort of likability. Except for the prince, because he has the character death of a puddle on a sidewalk. He's literally only in 2 scenes in the entire movie, and he has no other personality except for just existing in there. The huntsman also doesn't have that much of a personality either. Not all of the characters are bad though, since Snow White herself does have a bit of personality. She is represented as a kind but stern authority figure to the dwarves, and honestly, that does kind of work. Speaking of which, the dwarves do have a bit of personality, but that's mainly because they're the type of characters that have mostly primary personality traits. That's not automatically a bad thing, since they are sort of enjoyable to watch. Each one of them are cartoonish in their own way, and they each have their own little quirks. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the characters in here are a bit of a mixed bag. You've got characters that are good, and characters that are about as bland as a piece of toast. Although the good characters are a bit memorable. In short, Snow White and the 7 Dwarves is actually a pretty decent movie, with really good animation, mostly decent characters, and a story that's just okay. So now that I've gone ahead and reviewed this movie, now would be a good time to give my rating for it, on a scale of 1 to 10. But considering the fact that this is my very first YouTube video, I might as well explain my rating system. It goes from 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. And now for a proper explanation. A 1 is an absolute garbage movie, a movie that really no one needs to see. A 2 is a movie that's not quite as bad, but still pretty painful to watch. A 3 out of 10 is a movie that's just your standard bad movie. Not the worst, but definitely bad. A 4 out of 10 is just a mediocre movie, just nothing special at all, but not the worst either. A 5 out of 10 is a movie that's just okay. Not bad, but not good either. A 6 out of 10 is a movie that's decent. A movie that's kinda good, but could be better. A 7 out of 10 is a pretty good movie. Slightly better, or just better in general, than a 6, but not quite as good as 8 or 9, but still, pretty good. An 8 out of 10 is a solid movie, a really enjoyable movie, the kind of movie that you would watch more than once. 9 out of 10 is an amazing movie, a movie that's just a little bit of a shred away from being a 10 out of 10, but still an amazing movie nonetheless. A 10 out of 10 is a movie that is an absolute masterpiece. That doesn't mean it's perfect, but it does mean that's just a shred away from being perfect. It's still a masterpiece nonetheless. With that being said, let's get on with my rating for this movie. In my personal opinion, I give Snow White and the Seven Dwarves a 6 out of 10. It may have some flaws, like the story and some of the characters, but it is pretty decent because of the animation. Not bad for the first animated movie by Disney, and animated movie in North America. That being said, I'm almost done here with this video, so I'm just gonna say, have a decent day, okay? Hey guys, it's me, A Guy, and I'm here with a good old announcement. Just casually talking, whatever. So basically, this whole review thing is just a little bit of an experiment video. Basically, just want to test out if people would like this. And if this does do good, I will do more review videos. In fact, I would probably do more review videos regardless, because, well, I like animation, it's something I do. But I will possibly do more meme videos, because I like making those too. With that being said, like I said earlier, have a decent day, okay?